so that I can be able to know where to start. You alone. Anyone else? Okay. Anyone else apart from these two? Starting. Yeah, not starting. Jomo. Same, you're starting. Okay. You're sure startup. You're startup. What's your gear? What do you use to shoot? The lights? Visco. Modifier? Or 200? Your lighting modifier, what do you use? Apart from... Okay. Anyone else? A startup? Anyone else? A startup who is starting to use the lights? A startup. You have got one. What do you use? 200. Flash. Godox. What about modifier? Yes? You use Bear. And you? Modifier, the lighting modifier. The lighting modifier means like softbox, umbrellas. Pardon? 105. 105. Softbox. How many? How many? 2. You? 1. Anyone else? Do you have one? Which one? Softbox. Okay. Before I continue, I've got some things for grabs. If you're a startup and you use umbrellas, flash, I can give you the brackets. I've got brackets, I've got umbrellas, and a small softbox and a small reflector. I've got several. You can just come for it. What do you want? This one. Same, I've got strap if I've got a... All this are for grabs. If you need it, you can pick it. Sir? Pardon? No, I'm not selling. I'm giving for free. I don't use them. Right now. Strap. Which soft? This one. I've got this. You need this. Who took the trigger? This. I've got this, but this one is triggers for Jinbei. If you have got a strobe, you can have it. Same. pick it. Pick it after this. So you can share. You can have this, this. You can have this. Anyone can pick this, but you need to repair. But you need to repair. And the last one. Sa. Kidogo tu. That's all that I had. Don't worry if you didn't get it, maybe sometimes. Right? You're good. For those guys who are new, in studio, they have not been using any lighting modifiers, I ask a question before I give out. Do you use the lighting modifier or just the lights? So the guys were like, what's the lighting modifiers? For the lighting modifiers, we have got several, starting with reflector. This is the basic. Although it's small in size, it can serve you as you progress. Most of the time, I use the umbrellas. Not white, but reflective ones. They are very good, especially when you are dealing with group people, whether outside or inside in the studio. Whether outside or inside in the studio, they are very good. I prefer them when they are big. That's why I've given out the small ones. The other one that I've given out is the same size, but it has broken out. So you need to repair it. The best thing with this, it bounces light back as compared to the white one, right? For this one, you get much softer light as compared to the white one. The best thing with this, you can be able to cover it, and you can now change it from being an umbrella to be a softbox. That means if you cover it, you're going to have much softer light as compared to when it's wide open. But in any case, you're working with a group, just know whenever you insert it on the light, most of the time you're going to waste a lot of light on the edges as compared when you're covering it. You are not giving these ones.
No, we can.
This one is black, although it's gold, it's nice. But unfortunately, I can't use it. I prefer silver, all white. I don't want to mess with skin tones. I can do that either on Lightroom or Photoshop, right? I love Photoshop. I can spend hours on Photoshop than when I'm shooting. I don't know what happened. For this one, let's say this is light mode. This is where we begin, right? This is where we begin. Whether you are using either black or white, most of the time we set the light like this. Most of the time. So when you're using the umbrellas and then you're using the light, that means if you set it like this, what will happen, whether white or black, that means you're going to use this part only, not the other parts. That means you're going to be misusing your lighting modifiers. Here, from here, you see, from here where the head is, the moment it hits, even you can look, in terms of the space between here and the umbrellas, it's too short, right? That means at the end of the day, the light is not going to disperse. So, yes, you are using the lighting modifier, but you end up having very harsh light. Even if you are going to bounce light back, most of the time you are going to end up having very harsh light and very minimal light. Are you together? Most of the time when I use it, I have to open like this so that I can be able to make sure I am utilizing the whole surface for the umbrellas. I can see, even on my picture, you can see how it's wide open. Although I don't have the cloth. But in any case, you insert the cloth, you will be forced now to push it back so that you can be able to cover the head. Don't fear, it will fall. But at the end of the day, you will get another one. You give those guys some money, right? Or you can have an assistant to hold your lights. But now, here I was shooting, I think, at 6 a.m. The assistant was late. By the time he was coming, we are done with the shoot. It's in town. Didn't have license. So you work against their time. I'll talk about this space. You have heard about the catch light. The catch light. The catch light. The one you see inside your eyes, according to the lighting modifier that you use. Others prefer, maybe they can use the ring light so that they can have a circular one, although that's me, I don't like it. Seems like, I don't know how to explain it, but I prefer these ones. And you can be able to see the spaces in between. They are not that many. So maybe in your next, when you're going to invest on one, make sure, if possible, you can have these spikes as many as possible. They are very good for the catch light. If you are going to use open light like this, even when it comes to diffusing the light, they are very good. But then don't worry about the size. See, this one is large, this one is small. This one is small. But at the end of the day, it depends in terms of your studio space. In terms of your studio space. Because sometimes if I've got a very small room, and maybe I've got such huge umbrella, that means, yes, I will use it, but at the end of the day, I won't have sometimes a room for my client, my subject. They won't be having somewhere to stand. Or sometimes you're called to do a corporate portraits, and you're given a boardroom. The boardroom is too small, even it can't take maybe 10 peoples. And you show up with such. That means you're not going to shoot. You can, as you outgrow them, you can keep them, right? That's how I cover it. Apart from this, you have got this, the soft box. Which shape is this? Rectangle, square? Rectangle. Yeah, we have got several. We have got rectangles, we have got strip, we have got square. Each and every design, it has got its own purpose, depending on what you are shooting. For example, if I shoot families, and maybe most of the time, families you need to show from head to toe, depending on the size of your studio, this one, it won't be good for me, right? But if I've got a white umbrella and I shoot studio, they will be good for me, so that I can be able to give more light to my clients as compared to softbox. Yes, at the end of the day, as the name suggests, soft light. You won't have much soft light as compared to the softbox, but at that time, it will serve the purpose. For the softbox, I go for it for more creative work. Maybe I want to play with highlights and shadows. I can use softbox to be able to work with highlights and shadows. Although, for the black one, I can make use of it to have the same purpose, because at the end of the day, is knowing how to utilize what you have. Because sometimes we don't have cash to get the softbox, but maybe you have got the umbrellas. I can make this the same way it is to create a creative lighting, but yes, it won't be very soft, but at the end of the day, I will end up having a creative light. For example, if you close it down somewhere like that, and maybe you can make use of masking tape, you can end up having creative light, because at the end of the day, it would disperse the light much, but at the end of the day, you'll be able to direct light in a particular direction. As compared when it's wide open like this. Remember, when it's wide open like this, When it's wide open like this, you are using the entire surface area, plus the moment you are reflecting the light back, you are wasting some as compared to the softbox. For this one, it doesn't help. When you look at this one, you'll notice most of the edges, they are dark as compared to the white lining. It's not entire white. So that at the end of the day, it can be able to limit the light and it can go in a particular direction. I have given someone softbox. They will notice it has a grid. It has got a grid. For the grid, it makes the light much softer, but you need to be aware. You need to be aware. If maybe you're using power a half, the moment you insert the grid in front of it, you're going to cut the power by half. But at the end of the day, you're going to have much softer light as compared when you're using the softbox the way it is. I don't know if this has got two clothes. Yeah, it has got two. There is another one where you can put here, plus this one, and maybe you can put the grid. That means you're going to have much softer light as compared to the umbrellas. The size also matters. The size also matters. Yes, it's softbox, but in any case, I'm going to use a light like this, and maybe I'm using 1/1. Most of the time, I will end up having somehow harsh light. Yeah. Same, the bigger the better. The bigger, the softer the light. And sometimes you say, the closer to the subject, the softer the light. When I'm shooting the studio, if you see, tell me if I have got one. Most of the time when I'm shooting the studio, most of the lighting modifiers, they are in my frame. Yeah. Because they are very close as much as possible to the subject. I want to end up having a softer light. I don't fear. Even if I could be able, I can cover them with, and then I can go in Photoshop and do away with the lighting modifiers. Are you together? Apart from this, we have got something we call beauty dish, although we don't have to show as an example. For those guys like Simon, who deal with beauty, most of the time they'll find themselves working with beauty dish. It's very good, but now the trick with beauty dish is not soft light, but at the end of the day, you end up having harsh light. Most of the beauty dish, they come with the clothes, plus they will come with the grid. You can make use of the grid, but at the end of the day, now you'll be forced to use a lot of power so that you can be able to compensate. And for the beauty dish, it depends with whom you are taking the photo of. You just know whom you are going to take the picture of, know the end purpose, and know what they love. Because the same beauty dish, yes, I'm going to use it with a model, well done makeup, but I can't use it to an old lady of a 40 or maybe 40 years and they want to be young. At the end of the day, they will end up hating those pictures. Do you know why? Why?
Harsh light.
Yeah, harsh light will make sure you see each and every detail. It's not like softbox that is going to hide some details. You end up having soft skin. For the beauty dish, maybe use full power. you're forced to use maybe aperture 16. You end up having a lot of details, showing each and every detail in your skin tone. But maybe it depends with the camera also that you're using. But the beauty with softbox, maybe you can go low on the aperture. You'll end up having very soft skin. Even sometimes you don't have to use Photoshop if the makeup is well done. For the ring light, I've never used this. Maybe in the future. But most of the time I see it with makeup artists and some few photographers. It's good for a startup, but to me, I won't recommend it. Not unless maybe you've got dreams to do makeup, and maybe your subjects, they are just one person. You can go for it. Then you have got snoot. For the snoot is more of kickers modifiers, like hair, ring light, backlight. You can make use of the snoot. The best thing with the snoot, when you look at it, at the end, it's too small. And then where you fix on the light head, you will notice it's too huge, so that it can be able to condense the light, and the moment it gives out, it's very harsh and directional. Down there you can see gels. You can change the color temperature of your light. You have got CTO, B, and orange. It depends with you. How do you want to play with the colors? For this one, I used two snoots. Sometimes we say, make sure you do away with the shadows on the background. Sometimes you embrace them. I talked about the grids. Most of the time, when you are working with lights, this is the head, right? That means if I were to photograph someone and I want to light them, same to this. And I want them to be well lit, regardless of the background that I'm using. Most of the time, I will make sure they stand in front, and I make sure at the center of my head of the light, they are illuminating them, right? Same to this. But at the end of the day, most of the times, you have been shooting, you know the lens. Maybe a lens of 1.8, you'll notice it has got the sweet point, where even if you are shooting at low aperture, most of the time, most of the elements, they will be in focus. Even if you are going to shoot 1.8, the maximum, you will just know, if I stand here and my subject stands here and I'm shooting 1.8, I will get very sharp image, whether it's full or it's a portrait. Same to the lights, they have got their sweet points. The sweet points of whether you're using the umbrellas or the softbox is not at the center, it's at the edges. That's why you hear most of the time, flag the light. Right together? You flag the light and you end up, instead of using the center part of it, you use the edges. For example, this will be my subject. Now instead of putting the light in front of them, I will have to flag so that I can be able to use the edges. Are you communicating? Color gels, you're all familiar with. This is the effect of the color gels. Without the color gels, although the picture is small, this one, you can see in terms of the background, it changes. Then you have got background reflectors. Background reflectors, you can see it's like a snoop, those of cereals, yakchota mchele. The best thing with it, if you don't have the V-flats, you can make use of the background. Maybe if you have got extra cash to get the background reflectors, you can make use of the V-flats. And if you don't have, also you can make use of this, the black reflector, not the silver, not the white, the black reflectors. That is, in any case, you are photographing a white background. You can block your light. You can block your light from the background. Because most of the time when you're photographing against the white background, we are forced to light the white background so that we can have the white being white. But now the trick, it becomes tricky because the moment you light the white background, it's white. Most of the time what you will do, it will bounce the light back to the subject. And if you are not very keen when you're shooting, you go to Photoshop, when the screen is too big, you see on the edges you have got some white parts of the skin. To avoid that, you can use the V-flats, or if you have got a big reflector, you can make use of it to block the light coming back to the subject. Or you can invest on one, the background reflectors. It's easier. They are not bulky as V-flats. Also, you can use bundles. And a good example of bundles is this. That one is not complete. Same. But you can see the effect. The lights, they have got quality. Whether you are using the flash, pardon? For example, let me give you an example. This is the background. This is the subject. Me, I'm the subject. You're the photographer. This is the light for the background. You light the background, right? Now, maybe you've got the V-flat. You can block the light. Remember, the V-flat is not as a circle as this. The V-flat will have to run from top to top, from bottom to top, so that it can block the light. Now, this light will be hitting the background, lighting the background very well, but since you have got the V-flat, it won't come back. Are we together? Yeah. The qualities of light, color, when you are starting, we don't care about the colors, the contrast, direction, and sometimes we care about the quality and the contrast. Because most of the time we end up saying, my pictures, they are too harsh. The light is too harsh. Because of, we use this most of the time. Even now, I use it. Doesn't mean since I've given two I don't have another one. I use it. I've got big lights, but most of the times I find I don't need too much light. I need to make use of this. The best thing with this, the moment you know how to use it, you're good to go. Sometimes we use these big lights for PR. Yeah. Because sometimes I will go to shoot, I have them. I have got 3 speed lights. I end up using speed lights. I will set everything, but I will end up using the speed lights. Because at the end of the day, it depends with what I shoot. And the moment I test the light and I find